Hi guys, it's Mo from Mo Reads It, and today we're doing my 2021 reading stats. So I saw a lot of people making this video and I was just like, where are they getting these graphs from, all this information? Did they do a whole Excel? And some of them truly did like a whole Excel sheet and like created their own graphs and stuff. But in reality, there's something called StoryGraph, and I've never heard of this before. So I was like, oh my gosh, let me do that, let me make an account. So I did that, I made an account, I imported my Goodreads information from 2021 into StoryGraph, and it gave me my stats. So I figured I might as well do this video so that next year I know like what type of stats I was working with, and I know they're skewed. I know I read way more dystopian novels and everything like that, but I didn't want to go in and individually change it for every single book, and I read 67 books this year, so I wasn't gonna go do that, but I really wanted to have like the general sense overall. And then this year I'll be starting with StoryGraphs, and I'll be manually putting it in every single book I read, so I won't have to worry about it for 2022. But for 2021, my data is super wonky, but I figured it's still good to have the information. So for 2021, I read 67 books, along with about 30,000 pages, which is a lot. For those who don't know, I mostly comfort read through 2021, and then since I had just restarted reading after like a 9-year reading slump, I actually wasn't reading anything new or interesting. I was just rereading like old books I knew of and then anything Book Talk recommended. So the moods that I read the most of was actually adventurous, not surprising, emotional, and then dark, which I think falls into the realm of fantasy as a whole. I mostly read fantasy romance, so that sounds about right. And the least I actually read was funny, which is so ironic because I found a lot of those books that actually were funny, inspiring, and challenging. I am very surprised that inspiring and challenging was so low this year, but it makes sense. The data makes sense to me. And as far as pace goes, I mostly read at a medium pace, but if I were to argue this personally, I think I read mostly at a fast-paced. I definitely did not read at a slow pace. I don't like slow-paced novels. It's not for me, and I would not agree. Throne of Glass is not a fast-paced book, so I wish I can go in and like actually change some of these to be fast-paced. Like I'll say Namesake was fast-paced, but I don't know. I just don't think that's accurate for me personally. And then what they put in medium-paced books. This was not a medium-paced book. The Little Book of Huga, not a medium-paced book at all. It was so slow-paced. Mockingjay, I don't even like this book, but yeah. Twilight, I would say Twilight's medium. Medium to fast. I think it could be fast for me. For Good Kingdom, I would definitely say it's medium-paced. Clockwork Princess, I would say that's fast-paced personally, but whatever. Court of Rings and Ruin, I agree this one's medium-paced. But stuff like that, some of them I just personally don't agree on, but it's fine. Now, since I'm going to do it StoryGraph manually for 2022, I should be able to figure this out. As far as slow pace, I don't think that Fable was slow pace, honestly. City of Fallen Angels, I think it was probably medium paced. As far as page number go, I mostly read novels between 300 and 499 pages, and that seems pretty right for me. I think that's pretty accurate. I pretty much read, I don't care how big the book is, honestly, it just has to be a good story. I have no care in the world if it's thickums, like you can't even hold it in your grip, it's such a big book. As long as it's good, I don't care. I will still enjoy that book. I didn't read a lot of books less than 300 pages. I'm not surprised. Most books I read are typically big chunky books anyway. They're between 300 and 500 pages. Then 500 pages plus, I'm not surprised. Most of the Cassandra Clare books are 500 pages plus, so I'm not surprised I read so many of them since I read mostly Cassandra Clare this year. Fiction versus nonfiction. This isn't accurate because I didn't really put in any of my nonfiction into Goodreads just because I didn't find the value of tracking it, but now that I have graphs like this, I will. But 88% fiction, no one's surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm mostly comfort read. I love nonfiction books. I love productivity and health and wellness, all those lovely books, but I just didn't read a lot of them this year. I'm mostly comfort read. And then genres. Yes. Fantasy. No one's surprised. Who's surprised? No one. I love fantasy novel, particularly fantasy romance, even though a lot of people be classifying fantasy romance when the romance is a side piece. So we'll see. We'll get there one day, eventually. And then mostly young adult, that makes sense. I'm pretty much trying to figure out what I like in new adult and adult fiction. I'm still trying to bridge that gap I have played a little bit with like some book talk books that were recommended as like transitioning from YA to adult books, because I pretty much stopped reading for the past 9 years. So I'm trying to get there. And then romance, not surprised. A lot of romance books. I do know that this is inaccurate though, because when I clicked on dystopian, I read way more dystopian books than this. Like this should have had all, like the Veronica Rossi trilogy, Under a Never Sky. There should be at least 2 more books here for a fact. And I read a lot of dystopian, so I feel like this number should be higher and there should be more books here in general, but that's something we're just gonna have to deal with. As far as contemporary go, I don't really like contemporary, so I'm not surprised I didn't read much of it, but I definitely read more contemporary than this, because I remember thinking, why am I reading so many contemporary books this year? And I was like, oh yeah, you're trying to figure out, do you like contemporary? Is there any part of contemporary that you actually like and enjoy? I did like Get a Life, Chloe Brown, but it wasn't satisfactory. It didn't give me the satisfaction that fantasy books or books that are like written outside of our world gives me, but I still enjoyed the read. I won't deny that. So these are just incorrect. As far as genre goes, I think it's pretty incorrect for me. Science fiction, I definitely, for a fact, I can give you receipts, did not read only one sci-fi book. No, this is totally incorrect. So genres, just take it with a grain of salt, or not even, because it's not right, like at all. It really is not right, especially for the subcategories. I read way more than this. Horror? What did I read that was horror? I do not classify Stalking Jack the Ripper as horror. As someone who cannot watch a horror movie, and I could easily read this book, it is not a horror. It is not a horror. Do horror people classify this as a book? I'm just curious, like truly, because yeah, this is pretty wrong. And then format. Audio 1%, digital 9%, and print. This is completely wrong because I did listen to a lot of books on audio, and I also did a lot of books as dual, so I did like the ebook and the audiobook. And print, that's totally wrong as well, because honestly, I read most of my books in print this year, but I did a whole lot more audiobooks and ebooks than this. I wasn't logging that in my Goodreads. I didn't feel the need to, but now that I know that I have this year, I will be logging it for 2022. Most read author, Cassandra Clare, not surprised. I'm a series reader, so I read like by groupings. Typically I'll read the first book in a series and then go on to the next book in a new series, but then once I read a few books in a few series, I'll go back and I'll read all the books in one series, all the books in the next, and all the books in the third series. For example, right now I'm reading the Runish Curse trilogy, the Legend series, and Stalking Jack the Ripper series. And I've read the first book of all of them, and once I'm done with reading the first book of another series, I'm going to go back and read all the accompanying books for each book I read. So all of Legend, all of the Winter's Curse, all of Stalking Jack the Ripper, and so on and so forth. Since I am a series reader, I love series reading. Yes, I did indeed read 18 Cassandra Clare novels. I'm pretty sure I read more than this, honestly. 18 sounds so low, but maybe I did read only 18. I feel like some of the books are missing from Cassandra Clare, but I'm not sure which one, honestly. Oh well, everything I'm taking with a grain of salt, but I know I definitely read mostly Cassandra Clare. Sarah J. Maas coming in as number 2. That makes sense. I read all of her books. I read Throne of Glass, the whole ACOTAR series, so that's already 4 books plus 5. How do I have 7 books here? That's interesting. I think I only read 5 of her books, or maybe 6. Oh, it is counting. So I read the ACOTAR series as a ebook first time round, and I read it all straight through as an ebook, so that's why it's counting my extra ebook. But in actuality, I only read 6 of her books. The Bardugo, yes, I read all of the Grishaverse. I just have to do King of Scars and Rule of Wolves, and I'll be done with the Grishaverse. I am so ready for Nikolai's story. So ready for it. Stephanie Meyer, which makes sense. I read all of the Twilight Saga. Veronica Rossi, yes, I read her trilogy, and so on and so forth. So these are pretty much all the series I read. That's why I read mostly by those authors. Number of books and pages. So this is totally wrong because when I imported my Goodreads to my Storygraph, a lot of my books had no dates of reading, but it was marked as read. So I had to manually go in and put in a date for each of these books that I read. and I wasn't gonna do that, so I put in the same date for pretty much all the books. Yeah, once I was doing that, I realized, like, yeah, I'm not gonna fix all the errors and mistakes. We're just gonna start off fresh for 2022, but I still want to have the general idea of what 2021 was. So 67 books, 30,000 pages. I think that's pretty darn good. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing less than that. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing more than that. Just do what makes you happy, you know? My average rating was 3.8. I'm not surprised because I mostly comfort read, so I was already reading majority of my favorite books. And then the new books that I found, I was trying to experiment, so a lot of them flopped and a lot of them succeeded. And not many of them succeeded. I can't say I feel like only like maybe one of them was a true success, but out of like the 30 extra books I read to like find where I am as a reader now, I only think one of them was actually like truly what I wanted in the journey of what I was going through. But it's okay. The more you learn what you don't like, the less time you have to spend on it. And that's all my stats. I saw some of the other bloggers do it by like author and like all this other cool stats, and I don't know how to, I literally just started using this. I don't know how to alter mine to do that, or if I have to get like the premium package to do that, which I don't mind, but like I just got this literally the other day and I was so excited to share it with y'all. So it was fun for me to look at my stats. I love data, so it was immensely amazing for me. I'm studying to be a data scientist, so I'm hoping I can, over a few years, do this and see like what is the reading trends of me, and like do like a whole data science thing over it. I'm not sure if I can export this for myself though, so we'll see. But I am excited to track my 2022 reading in story graphs and figure out how to make those specialty graphs, and probably start my own special Excel sheet to track deeper, very specific, unique things to books, because I just don't agree with a lot of these paces and moods. I'm like, I wouldn't categorize it as that, so I'll probably make my own specialized Excel sheet. But anyway, that's it. That's my stats for 2021. What was your stats for 2021? Or did you not know this website existed? Because I did not know this website existed at all. I really want to know what you guys expect 2022 is going to be. I personally think I'm going to read novels this year and find a lot of fantasy romance, because those are part of my goals. If you want to check out my 2022 goals, they're right here, by the way. And I also think I'm going to learn more about BookTube. I recently just had my eyes open to BookTube. I joined BookTube recently, so I think I'm going to learn a lot about BookTube and everything that goes along with that. But anyway, I hope you guys had a great time going over my 2021 stats. Don't forget, I'm here every Friday, and be sure to subscribe. Let's start the new year off fresh. Have a great day, guys. Bye.